But to see HDFC Bank clock a profit growth, 30% growth will have to pick up substantially, says Aditya Puri, the CEO at HDFC Bank. Speaking exclusively with ET Now's Simran Gill, Puri gives us a sneak peek into his thoughts on the profitability of a merger, or rather probability of a merger between HDFC and HDFC Bank.
No, the market is doing quite well by us. If you look at our ADR, it's at a 21% premium. That's the highest premium I've seen for any shares. So the market continues to love us. I don't know about you. But the fact of the matter is that as we go forward, we've always said that there are two components to our growth rate. One is the market share we gain. Two is the additional distribution that we put in. And three is the GDP. So if the GDP goes down, by definition, I can't achieve the same growth rate much as I would want to with a 7.5% GDP and a 4.5% GDP. So the construct that we have always been saying, hopefully with some success, we've had more success with investors than we've had with the media, is GDP into 3.2 plus 4 to 6. See, you know it.
You said this.
Yeah, you know it, but you don't want to. You want to carry on with your question. I'll answer the same way. Okay.
Okay. No, but if you were to focus on corporate demand, I've spoken to a number of bankers. They're saying that it's very muted right now. Even if the sentiments have picked up, but they're not really seeing anything happen on the ground. I wanted to get your sense on this. When would we see really the demand coming up for new projects? How much more time? What is keeping corporates away from the banking sector still?
No, I don't think corporates are away from the banking sector. We are seeing demand on the consumer side, and we are seeing some pickup on the corporate side, but on working capital. Investment demand, by definition, Simran, when it will come progressively. So first, the sentiment has to change, then people have to be seeing that demand is exceeding supply, and they need to create supply. Then they have to conceive the project, then they have to close the project, etc. By the time that really starts to affect the economy and the GDP is at least 12 months. So are we seeing green shoots in terms of investment? Probably not. Are we seeing positive sentiment? Yes. And will it move to green shoots? I think there's a very good probability, but it'll take 12 months. And that is why when we started off, I told you that this year GDP is 5.5. That 5.5 is based upon the fact that if you just get the projects unstuck, and you get some amount of movement in various areas, infrastructure and government spending, which had been stopped last year at all, that will give you almost 40 to 50 basis points increase. And at the same time, they're working on the second aspect, which should bring investment in, and that's the delta when fully operational, which would only be about 18 months from now, and goes to the 6% plus.
One thing that everyone is waiting for eagerly is the FIPB approval coming. When will it come to increase the foreign shareholding? So on that front, the meetings are expected to happen sometime early next week. We understand that you've submitted a new proposal to them. So are you hopeful that this time around there will be no problem and you will finally...
Hindi mein kya bolte hain? Dunya hope par kaim hai.
So
we are very hopeful.
So, but you know, we all are very used to the fact that these things take a lot of time. They can get delayed for forever. So what is your plan in the time being?
No.
What is your plan?
We have tremendous faith in this government.
Okay.
And under the new dispensation, I think it will happen within a reasonable time.
Okay.
So we don't need a plan B.
So nothing. And as far as the main problem out here is your parent company HDFC. They are saying that it is more like it's more of a foreign company. So that's the main problem. So how are you going to deal with that particular issue?
We made a proposal. I think we're coming along to a common ground.
Okay.
So, and since we're very close to final decision to be given by them, let us say I will live on hope.
Okay. And as far as your fundraising plans are concerned, just wanted to get a sense on that. You've already got shareholder and board approval for 10,000 crore capital raising. So going forward, are you looking at tapping the market anytime soon? Any overseas bond raising, anything on the cards?
So if you look at that resolution, it says it's an enabling resolution. We have capital adequacy in excess of 16.5%. So do we need capital immediately? No. Would we need capital in the next 9 to 18 months? Yes. exact timing will depend upon our growth rate.
Keeping it with the expansion plans, wanted to get a sense about your organic as well as your inorganic expansion plans. It's been over 5 years that you last acquired Centurion Bank of Punjab. After that, we haven't really seen. And again, this whole issue of consolidation in the banking sector has come up with the finance minister also supporting the idea. So just wanted to get a sense on that from you, because I'm sure there are a lot of small and mid-sized banks who will be willing to get acquired by HDFC Bank. So,
but we must also want.
So, are you ready for another acquisition?
Are
you ready for another acquisition?
See, two parts you must understand. That an acquisition, unless it can change, make a substantial difference to our size, actually is too much of a pain. So acquiring a small bank at this point of time would actually be counterproductive for us in terms of trying to sort it out and union and systems, etc. We could probably grow as much as that small bank with the effort that we put in. We could grow twice as fast organically.
Okay.
So if anything is to happen, it has to be medium or large scale. There are not too many of those kinds available. But coming to your point as to what the finance minister said, I think that's more relevant because he owns 70% of the banking system. My own view, I think the number of public sector banks should be probably 6 or 7 because they'd be able, primarily because one, it would give them more capability to go to the market, but more importantly, it would allow them to take the right decisions to bring them in terms of their service level, systems, procedures, compensation, all of that. So I think consolidation in the public sector space would probably be needed.
Okay. And this brings me to my next question. HDFC and HDFC Bank merger. This time I'm going to put it in a different way. Maybe I get the answer that I'm looking for.
Try once again.
So you have said that only if it makes business sense will you look at
Not
this.
only me. Parikar said the same
all
thing.
of you,
all
the
of
stakeholders.
us.
So what factors can prompt this move? What are the pros and cons for this merger? That's what I would like to understand.
See, the pros and cons are a little premature to answer the pros and cons, but there are certain regulatory constraints, which we've been saying for the last 15 years, that once those regulatory constraints like SLR, CRR, holding company, taxation, all of those, so some of those have been sorted out, some more need to be sorted out. When they're sorted out, I will be the first one to come back and tell you now it's sorted out. At this point of time, there is nothing on the table.
Nothing at all?
Nothing at all.
Okay. And another thing I wanted to ask you in terms of this expansion plan is your overseas expansion plan. Out there, you're one of the very few large players who are not very significantly present overseas. But going forward, would you like to go aggressive on overseas expansion?
Not really. If you really look and if you see history, we were at the show with Martin Sorrell, and in fact that's what he said, that if you have demand in your own country, it's better to catch that demand because you can access it more profitably, build your brand, build your strength, and then go overseas when you're very clear. So in the next few years, we don't have a major overseas expansion plan, largely because at this point of time, there's not so much Indian business overseas as well. There is the Tata Jaguar and there's a few of them. But we are very big in the NRI business. We are large in intermediating in trade. But to go out and become a major bank in any country, I think we have ambitions, but not for the next 3 years, which will be spent in building our brand, taking banking to where it is not there in India, because that's a tremendous market.
As far as the external sector risk is concerned, we are still seeing that some amount of risk is there, and we are also sooner or later going to see the rates in US as well as the advanced economies inching up. So do you think that India in relation to other emerging economies is little better placed than them, or are we still little vulnerable to that side?
No, I think I'd written on this that India is an outlier. I think between a combination of the fact that our current account deficit is under control, our reserves are increasing, our exports are doing well, and that the quantitative easing largely has played out as far as India is concerned, I think we don't have so much of a risk on the dollar-rupee front, and that's how it's perceived everywhere, both internally and externally.
You have really done a great job by bringing this
now
bank
you want
from
me
scratch.
To go?
No, from scratch to where it is today. It's the best in the business today.
Yeah.
But what lies ahead for HDFC Bank once Mr. Puri decides to move on? If you could give a sense of your success.
But why are you so convinced that I'm moving on?
No. One day all of us have to move on in life.
Now I can answer your question.
So
if your question is that are the systems in HDFC Bank robust? Yes. Is there tremendous amount of delegation? Yes. Do we have an excellent workforce? Yes. Are there internal candidates for my job? Yes. Are they external candidates for my job? Yes. Am I planning to leave at the moment? No. Is there any regulation that tells me to? No. Is there a recommendation? Yes.
Okay, that's Aditya Puri in an exclusive chat with ET Now, Simran Gill. No, I don't think he would really give out whether or not there is an HDFC or HDFC Bank merger in
He's
the pipeline.
putting it very smartly. Look, there are regulatory hurdles. We all know that there are regulatory hurdles, but there are, optically it makes perfect sense for HDFC Bank and HDFC Bank to merge. It will create size, it will give them leverage, it will give benefit of reach. So eventually, my gut call is this merger will happen. Whether 6 months, 9 months, anyone's guess. But my gut call is that eventually it will happen.
And good try, Simran. She didn't let go. She
Yes.
kept trying at it to get an answer out of him. Okay, let's just mark a breakout then. Asian Paints, that's the one.